All right. Hey, everybody. What's going on? Hey, you guys. Thanks so much for joining today. So excited you guys are on here today. I want to encourage you to please share this feed, right? Because this conversation is, I already know it's going to help a lot of people. And, it's not just always in hearing one thing, but it's the conversation, it's the debate, it's the getting other people's ideas, opinions, and then at the end of the day, letting it settle on your heart and then you figuring out what's best for you, right? So I would tell people it's not like necessarily a right and wrong, because what's right for me might not be right for Kim, but there may be some things that we agree on together. So definitely share this feed. I see some of you guys getting on here. What's up, gentlemen? Yes, we want you on here. We're going to be talking about women in investing. What's up, Ryan? What's up, Ronald? Yes, guys, go ahead and share this feed. Also, I want to encourage you guys to have a watch party, right? Have watch parties, because this conversation I know is going to help a lot of people. So I just want to say, what's up, Kim? Yay!
How are you doing? So great to connect with you again. Always a joy. Always a joy.
I know, right? You guys know Kim Kiyosaki. She probably needs no introduction, but for those of you who may not really know Roz, she is a tremendous entrepreneur. And I've been able to develop a great friendship with her, and I love her heart. She really loves people. I can never call, whenever I call Kim and say, Kim, can you come out and play? She's like, yes, girl. So I love that. Kim, I want to jump right in here. Talk a little bit about what kind of started you on the path, because you have a really strong heart for, and guys, we love you. We're glad you're on here. Share with other people. But what kind of started you on the path to even become this champion for women and money and investing?
Well, that's a great question, because it kind of evolved organically, because I did not grow up. As a matter of fact, I'm the youngest of 3 girls. So I was raised with the idea that gender has no effect on success. You do what you want and you set your goals, you go for your dreams. That's how I was raised. That was the foundation I was raised on. So I never had the male, female. I never saw being a woman as less than or a disadvantage. As a matter of fact, I think it's an advantage, especially today. But so that never kind of played into it. But what happened is when Robert and I started the Rich Dad Company back in 1996, we would go on the road and we would speak and we would share the Rich Dad principles and philosophies and investing, all of that, money principles. And over time, what would happen is I would get up and I would speak for just a few minutes. And it didn't matter what part of the world we were in, if it was Singapore or LA or London, Johannesburg, it didn't matter. I would always be surrounded by women. And they had the same questions, they had the same issues. And it became very, very clear that there really was not a woman teaching women about money. There were women teaching about money, but there weren't women teaching women about money. And so it grew organically. I saw the need, I saw the desire. Heard the stories. I heard the financial problems women had, the financial issues they were facing. And so I made it a huge initiative of mine to do what I could to educate women all over the world about money, about really more about than just money, Jewel. It's about being financially independent.
Yeah.
And being a rich woman. And rich woman is not just money, as you know. Money, rich woman is rich in all ways possible.
Yeah, no, that is so good. And I'm gonna tell you what really trips me out. And I think that was the thing that, definitely attracted me to you, is that you wanted to see women independently wealthy. And it doesn't mean that you still can't be, a great wife, a great mom, if you're financially independent. And I think sometimes women would confuse, hey, if I'm financially independent, does that mean that I'm not respecting my husband? And it has nothing to do with that. I'm like, God gave you a brain to think and to make decisions. And when you got married, you shouldn't leave that at the altar. That's my thing. Now, let's talk a little bit just about the problems, because even yesterday, maybe not yesterday, it was within the last 3 days, okay? I was talking to a woman about investing. This woman was probably like in her 30s, and she was so excited. She's like, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it. And then 2 days later, and I was like, what happened? And I called, I said, hey girl, you know, what's up? And she's like, my husband said that he didn't want me to do it. And I just cringed. I'm like, this like 2020. So can you talk a little bit about some of the issues that you've seen with women who are either stopped by their partner or maybe they just won't go forward with it? Because economically, I don't like what I see with women with that. So will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the $1 million question, Jewel. You know, I have so many women come and say, well, what if my husband's not interested? And having that discussion, just the discussion about money, if she's not the one involved, if he's the one that's been handling all the finances and all of a sudden she says, I'm interested, I want to learn, he often gets threatened. I mean, men sometimes have, you know, little tender egos, and you kind of got to pander to that sometimes, but that discussion has to happen. And the best discussion I've heard from a woman, this is a friend of mine, she had to have this discussion with her husband. And she said, you know, I know this is a touchy subject. She goes, but what if something were to happen to you? This is how she started. What if something were to happen to you? I don't have any idea what we have. I don't know where it is. I don't know who to talk to. Can we start there? And that's the discussion. If you really love me and care about me, wouldn't you want to make sure that I'm protected after you go? So it is something that has to be discussed because too many women are finding themselves in a financial crisis. I spoke with a woman last week. She's been married 17 years, about to get a divorce. Now she's got 5 kids, no job, and he doesn't have a job. He can't support her. So we're trying to work with her and looking at some of the opportunities coming out of COVID that could play right into her wheelhouse. But that you got to have that discussion. And, you know, there's 3 things a woman can do. She can, when like your friend, she got all excited. So she can get excited and do nothing, or she can include her partner, or she can do it anyway. Because you got to do it anyway.
Yeah. And you know, and I like what you said, and it doesn't, and I'm the same way. It doesn't have to be disrespectful. It doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be any of that. But at the end of the day, if you don't speak up for yourself, you know, almost like saying, I'm waiting for my husband to send me to the spa. Like, baby, you better know how to take care of yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not waiting on Ben, and I love my honey, but I don't wait for him. When I need a massage, I have the masseuse come over. Or I go to the spa. Like, I'm not waiting for him to give me permission for or financial care.
Yeah, women shouldn't wait for anybody. Women shouldn't wait for their partners. Women shouldn't wait for the government to give them a handout. Women shouldn't wait for somebody to tell them what to do with this whole COVID thing. Women have got to take charge. And to your point about talking about money, it's actually one of the primary reasons Robert and I created our cash flow board game. And you can go online at richdad.com. You can play it for free. You don't even have to buy it. But it starts the conversation. Because it talks about assets and liabilities. It talks about good debt and bad debt. It talks about income and expenses. So it starts the conversation. So that's kind of like an icebreaker way. Get together with another couple, 2 other couples, play together. It'll start the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the impact of what we see is happening right now. Fed's printing a ton of money to get SBA loans, payroll protection.
Anytime soon.
It's not going to stop anytime soon.
No, they're going to continue printing and printing and printing.
And so what does that do to the value of the dollar? I mean, that should be a huge concern for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not, except people don't understand it. A lot of people, if they're waiting for as Robert and I were talking the other day, and people are waiting for their $600, stimulus money from the government, when there's so much opportunity out there, they could be making millions. But they're so focused on get this handout. It's that getting a handout from the government in any form, even Social Security, any form at least Social Security, you've paid into it. But taking money from the government, free money from the government, there's a price to pay. There's going to be a big price to pay. And unfortunately, if it goes down that road, that price is going to be a lot of our freedoms and a lot of our liberties are going to be taken away. So that's a real concern of mine. And as they keep printing more money, Jewel, to your question, of course, that will devalue the value of the currency. It will devalue the US dollar, it will, any currency, euro, yen, that's printing so much money, that money will get devalued. That currency will get devalued.
Yeah. So it's important that we're looking at hard assets,
Yes.
like gold and silver,
Yes.
to
Things that would offset inflation, because we may have deflation first and then inflation. Because with all these people out of work, it's going to be a tough time ahead, a tough road ahead. We have not yet seen any of the fallout from these millions of people that are out of work all over the world, and businesses that are shutting down all over the world. But again, and we'll talk about the opportunities that are there, definitely.
Yeah, because anytime there's huge problems, there's also huge opportunities.
Exactly.
All a person has to do is be willing to pivot, to change, to ask questions, to lean in. I like what you said, Robert said, hey, you're waiting on a check from the government where you really could be out here making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the trends that you see, the upcoming trends, because I believe that this next decade is going to look totally different from the last decade.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. And when you talk, Jewel, about hard assets, and we were talking right before the show, that is what we invest in. We invest in real estate, hard assets, and where the opportunity in real estate, because real estate's going to take a hit in many ways, as retail, commercial leasing, they're going to take a hit. But one thing that we've always done with our real estate is we never went for the high end. Because if you go to the high-end luxury, when there's a shift in the economy, a downward shift, people are going to move out of that high end and move into lesser, we call it B and C quality apartments and housing. So we're always kind of the middle of the road, because when the downturn hits, people will move from the high end into our properties. So there is opportunity out there. Senior housing, that's going to be a big opportunity for real estate. And we all see everything's getting delivered today. Everybody wants it delivered. So that means there's going to be huge opportunities, and it's already happening in warehousing. I just heard Amazon just bought, who did they just buy? It's got big distribution centers all over. So there's warehousing, there's delivery. Can you figure out a way to deliver things to people? So there is a lot. And then of course, technology, we're all on Zoom. There's a lot of everything. I am actually quite excited about what's happening in the business world, because I was just talking to my team yesterday, and they've all been working from home. And I'll tell you, they are so efficient and so productive. And okay, so how do we want to come back? And we're like, well, we want to come back because we miss all the brainstorming. We miss the physical interaction. We miss all of that. So we're looking at coming back 2 days a week instead of 5, 2 days a week. And then somebody had this bright idea. They go, because we share all the information at our company. We share our financials with our whole team. So they know and they take ownership in the company. And somebody raised the question. They said, well, our biggest expense is warehousing and storage, warehousing and shipping. He said, so if we're only going to be here 2 days a week and we own the office building, why don't we turn our office building into a warehouse? Oh, I'm like, I like this idea. Yeah. And, so there's you just be more creative, think outside the box. Yeah. And like you said, the rules have all changed, and what worked yesterday is probably not going to work tomorrow. So you really do have to think differently and think for yourself. Don't just follow everybody else. This is what's driving me crazy. Why aren't people speaking up about this? I mean, this pandemic, yes, there's a virus, but the numbers, no way in hell did they justify shutting down the entire world economy, putting people out of business, putting people out of work, upsetting the entire livelihood, and people are not speaking out. So we got to speak out and say, hey, we need to make some changes now. Yeah. Well, the reality is, one of the attributes of somebody that has mega success is they don't follow the rules. They break the rules. They do not follow the rules. They trust their instinct. They trust their gut. They go after it. They're not afraid to, like you said, speak out, speak up, and not being afraid to make a mistake. You know,
we were talking before, and I remember you talking about how, there were some things you did that didn't work, but then there were other things you did that did work, but you never allowed fear of making a mistake to stop you. And I think sometimes with women in particularly, we haven't really, like, you were blessed to be in an environment growing up where taking a risk, it sounds like, was cultivated. But there are a lot of women out there who men who are just afraid to take a risk. And I think it's necessary. Like, I think I'm afraid of people that keep playing it super, super safe. Will you talk about the power of taking a risk?
Oh, you got to make mistakes. The only way we learn, the only way we grow is by making a mistake. And if you're just going to do the same old thing, the way you grow is by getting outside of your comfort zone. And you can do it in little steps. You don't have to, you don't have to give everything up. You can take little steps. But the power, the only people I know who have been successful have failed time and time again. Robert and I have had huge setbacks, huge mistakes, costly mistakes, very costly, but it didn't stop us. And I think two of the characteristics that people need to adopt today in order to not just survive this thing, but really prosper as we come out of this is to be optimistic. And the way you get optimistic is you turn off the damn TVs and all that social media that they all want to talk about, all the negative, all the things, all the bad things that are happening. There's no positive stories out there, and there's a lot of positive stuff going on right now. Yeah. So I turn off all the news, all the noise, and I want to look at where's, again, the opportunity. That's where you get optimistic. What if we can come out of this better? What if we can come out of this smarter? Yeah. What if we can come out of this where we see the opportunity and we're already taking action to it? So this thing about making mistakes, that's why I always say, start small. If you want to start a business, start small. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket, but get out there, put your toe in the water, do something every day that makes you a little angst, gives you that, the little pit in your stomach where you're going, ooh, makes me a little nervous, a little scary. That's good. That's a good sign. Yeah. So that would be one thing, optimism. And the other thing, and this also goes for successful entrepreneurs, I know. One is optimism. The other thing is resiliency. Yeah. People, we're going to see, they say we're going to see who's been swimming naked when the tide goes out. And a lot of people are going to be swimming naked. So how are you going to come back from this? And I'm not even saying in tomorrow, I'm saying right now, because you don't want to wait for the government to tell you what you can and cannot do. I act as if there is no pandemic. It has not slowed me down. Matter of fact, our company is thriving right now. Mm-hmm. It hasn't slowed our team down at all. But it's the resiliency and optimism. If you can adopt those two characteristics, I think, you'll do so much better today.
Girl, that is so good. This is why I love you guys. Yeah, it hasn't slowed us down at all either. Somebody said, have you been quarantined? I'm like, I can't be quarantined.
Not in your nature, Jewel. It is not in your nature.
I'm taking my vitamins. I'm doing infusions. I'm drinking my wine water. I'm taking care of myself. But there's way more to do now.
That was open during this time, and it was a legit gym. And so I kept working out. I kept going to my naturopath. I stayed healthy. Yes, exactly. Yeah. There's always a way around it. Always.
Yeah, I think we have to be very, very careful about following the crowd.
Big time. Big time.
This is the time for innovators, creators, fighters to rise to the top and lead, because people need solid leadership. What do I do? How do I pivot? How do I change? How can I make, like you said, this year for us, we've been very, very blessed. This has probably been one of our strongest years ever, right? But, it's also, we just kept pivoting. Our ministry kept pivoting. Our businesses kept pivoting. We kept changing. We kept asking questions. We kept digging in. We would not take no for an answer. It was like yes and yes. Those are the two answers I take, yes and yes. Kim, talk about the trends, because like you said, there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, I'm looking at, like you said, food delivery, but also education. The educational system.
Huge, huge. huge. And that's what we're very excited about, because they're finding out the school system is more broken than they ever thought it would be. They cannot get teachers back to school. And I was talking to my niece the other day, and she unfortunately, she's going through a divorce, and but she was going back to getting her teaching certificate, but now all the schools are closed. One of the huge trends that we see coming is parents want tutors for their kids.
Yeah.
They want homeschool for their kids. And so I said to my niece, I'm like, you're homeschooling your kids, go knock on your neighbors' doors, because their kids are at home, and you're saying the school system is saying, oh, we're going to either have kids in school 2 days a week or 5 days at home. And you got two working parents, and they're like, we can't do that. We can't do that. How can we survive with that? So she started going around knocking on doors, and she's already got 2 students that are going to come homeschool with her. I said, now you got to start there, but then start thinking bigger. How can you bring other teachers in? How can you set up a system? But if you're a teacher out there, or you have teaching credentials, there's huge opportunity there. And for us, financial education, of course, we're all over this. We're figuring out how can we bring financial education. Again, we're already doing it digitally, but how can we do it better, faster, bigger?
Yeah.
The education. I don't have the solution by any means for the school system.
Yeah.
But I think people are waking up. This has been a huge wake-up call on so many fronts. And I think a lot of people, especially parents and students, are waking up going, hey, is school really worth it? The way they're doing it, the way they're teaching, is it really worth it? I know a lot of college kids right now that are really reconsidering their options.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was even thinking about like Uber for teachers. Like if somebody came up with something where you can find a teacher in your city and request them, do the whole credit check, kind of like they did for Uber drivers. I mean, I think it's absolutely the future. And also probably lots of little small franchise private schools. I know Jeff Bezos has a whole initiative that he's doing with chartered schools, and particularly the inner city. So, tons of opportunity. Like you said, you just can't be afraid to think, run your idea past somebody, and there'll probably be somebody out there that'll partner with you, and they can add things that you never thought of, just like your team talked about. Why don't we use the office as a warehouse? So, there's no shortage of it. It's just a matter of trusting the ideas that you're getting, capturing those ideas and implementing.
Start taking action right now. I mean, it's like make a phone call, get your whatever you need to teach. One thing I'm hearing, which I'm loving, is the teachers that are homeschooling are going, since the schools are closed, we really don't have a curriculum. They say study this, so we study that, but that takes like 2 minutes, and then we can teach to what we want to teach. So during this time, we can't keep our cash flow board game. We can't keep it in stock. It's selling like crazy, because I'm so excited that people are actually taking this time, learning, getting educated, and actually, playing the game, reading, not just our stuff, but learning on a broad scale of what it is they want to learn and what it is they want to take action on.
Yeah, that's so good.
The key is action. You got to take action.
You got to take action.
Yeah.
So it's like every time you get an idea, the question has to be, what is my action step?
Yes. What can I do today? What can I do today? What is one action step I can do today that will move me closer to my goal? One thing, just one thing. If you just said one thing.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. Self-education. I mean, we're kind of already talking about that, but self-education. I mean, I think when you look at people that are becoming the next millionaires, multiple millionaires, billionaires, they're huge on self-education. Giving all these hours to Netflix, Hulu, and Prime Amazon, giving hours to developing their intelligence and studying those areas that they have interest in.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting that everybody now is online, and some are just like talking heads, but you have more access to more experts. When I say experts, I'm talking real teachers. I'm talking about teachers who are actually practicing what they preach. Not a school teacher, not an academic, not a professor who's just, spurting their theory and all of this, but people that are out there actually doing it every single day. And it's fun because I go online, and especially during this time, I'm finding new teachers. I'm finding teachers who I didn't have access to. I love personal development, personal growth. and I'm a student of Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now. And I've listened to 3 of his live webinars, and they're all very eye-opening, and it just makes me think a little bit differently. But every person out there, instead of going to a seminar now, they're online, and they're doing it very inexpensively, and a lot of times for free.
Yeah.
So that's, if you can use this time, and I hope you've used the people I'm talking to, they've been so excited because they've used this time so well.
Yeah.
To mind to further, this is, as we say, this is your greatest asset, or this can be your greatest liability right here. But they're using it to get better and to implement new things.
That is so good. You got some fans on here saying, I love Rich Woman. I bought the cash flow quadrant. That's awesome. So yeah, self-education is huge. Making sure that we're putting our hours, cultivating our interests. You've already kind of talked about the assets that you and Robert are really loving: gold, silver.
Yeah, that's so easy to watch gold and silver today. And there's so many articles that are online talking about why why gold and silver are taking off so big, and why there was a sell-off. And I'm studying it. I actually, out of this whole thing, I have a new mentor on gold and silver that I got introduced to 2 weeks ago. So I'm on the phone to him almost every day. And if you're watching it, there was a couple days ago, there was a huge dip. The price of gold and silver were taking off. They were skyrocketing, and all of a sudden, boom, there was this big pullback. And we're talking, and he said, well, there's been a bit of what he calls profit taking. People are selling and getting their profit. So gold and silver becomes available. And he said part of the sell-off, this is what blows my mind, doesn't make any sense to me. Part of the sell-off is because Russia announced that they may have a new vaccine. And I said, so what does that do? And he says, well, what that does is that gives more confidence to people that things are going to have a little bit more normalcy going forward. So they're not quite so fearful. And gold and silver is typically a hedge against an economy that's out of control. So it's fascinating. It's
fascinating how the news moves the markets. Yeah. So, but he told you, I think you said that he could see gold, but he doesn't think this pullback is going to last too long.
He thinks it's still there. He thinks it's going to still keep going on. I mean, we've been buying gold and silver in the last week.
Yeah,
because we then we talked to another gentleman today who's very studies gold and silver quite a bit. So most of the people we're talking to, they're saying, it's going to go to 5,000. Jim Rickard says by 2025 it might be at 15,000, and then we hear from Harry Dent. Harry Dent says it'll be down to 1,000, and you're like, what to listen to, So you got to do your own homework. You cannot just rely on experts. You really have to. And you said it earlier, Jewel, when you opened the show, that what works for me and what works for you may not work for people that are watching this right now. They've got to do what works best for them.
Absolutely.
A lot of different asset classes, but the more educated you are, the more you learn, the better decisions you're going to make.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I heard the high and silver, Mike Maloney, I follow him pretty close on gold and silver, $700, that it's going to be in closer proportion to gold. Because right now, $23 and almost $2,000, that's a huge gap. He said he believes that gap is going to close and silver is going to keep moving up. What have you heard?
Well, what I've heard is silver might be the better play. It's just you can only have so many gold. That's a lot of gold coins if you buy a lot. But what they say about silver too is it's used. It's used in everyday usage in technology, and it's a usable metal where gold is not. Gold is just stored. So as technology keeps more going on, cell phones all use silver, microwaves, all sorts of light bulbs, all use silver. So silver may be in more and more demand. So that price of silver going up is very possible.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So hopefully you guys are taking good notes and getting really good nuggets. Somebody was saying they're in college, what do I start to do to make cash flow? I think it doesn't matter if a person's in college or if they're 80 years old, all of the steps are the same.
Yeah.
You have to start to take action. And right now we're in a space where creativity is king.
It
So,
is.
I mean, my thing is if it's a good idea and it's innovative and it's forward thinking, it has a digital aspect, I would probably say it's free game. You could be the next, Apple. As far as I'm concerned, like you can get as creative. There's no boundaries to
No
what
bad.
you can create. If it solves problems and it's something that people need or desire, then you could be the next person.
And that's exactly one of the two principles, Jewel, that we built the Rich Dad Company on. And this comes from Buckman. I want to say that I'm going to answer this, but then I want to get back to the college student too for a second.
Yeah.
But we study a gentleman named Buckminster Fuller. He's since passed away. They called him the friendly genius. He invented the geodesic dome. He was an inventor, philosopher, a futurist, basically dedicated his life to the betterment of humanity. And he studied principles. And one of the principles, there were two that we really have built this company on. And one principle was the more people we serve, the more effective we become. And I know that is your mantra. The more people we serve, the more effective we become. So as you think of building your business, building your investments, how do you serve more people? How do you reach more people? You reach more people, that brings you more business. And the second principle was a thing called angular redundancy. And basically what that meant is what is needed and wanted today, exactly what you're saying, what is needed and wanted today that nobody else is doing. So for example, we don't need another gas-powered car. We got plenty. That's not something we really need. But what is it that is needed and wanted that is not out there? So when Robert and I looked at that, what we saw was not being delivered was there was no financial education in the school system. So we took upon ourselves to take on that task and to deliver easy, inexpensive financial education to the world. So those are the two principles that we've built our company on. And it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, no, it's good. And you guys definitely are true to that. I love how open from the day I've met you, just been very grounded, very humble, and very open. Like, hey, let's all win together. And so if somebody, and this will probably be the last question because I know we've been on for 30 minutes, but if somebody was saying, because here's the thing, success is a team sport, right? We need each other. Those of you that are watching, we need you. You need us. I mean, it's a partnership. It really is. So talk a little bit about when you start talking about team, what kind of team would you say a person needs to be looking for and partnering with? Because you also mentioned something, and I believe in this wholeheartedly. There are a lot of people on social media like, I'm this, that, and the third, but I'm like, but your life is raggedy. I'm not interested in your public profile. I'm interested in who you are at the crib. When you're at home, when you're just at home, like, how are you moving? Because ultimately, you don't want to just partner with somebody because they mastered marketing and making themselves look like something they're really not. Like, you want real life partnerships and team members that are really, really have the same core values. So how did you find that amazing team? I know I'm blessed with an amazing team, but how have you found it?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And right before I get to that, I did mention I wanted to address the college student. I forgot about that. All I want to say to him or her is that somebody asked me, what would you say to a young person starting out? And the one thing I would say is treat your money, treat your finances, treat your money as a business. It's not just I make money and I spend it. I make money and I spend it. Treat it as a business. Understand income, understand expense, understand asset, understand liability. And every single dollar that comes into your household, pay attention to it as if it's a dollar bill coming into your business, because your financial system, your financial life is a business. So treat it like a business. That was one thing I wanted to say. But back to team and partners. Oh my gosh. So that's the hardest part. People are the hardest part of business. I always say business would be so easy if it wasn't for people.
Right.
But one thing I have learned, and I've learned this the hard way, Robert and I have learned this the hard way, is number one, if you're going to take on a partner, and I had a mentor who taught me this very well, do not take on somebody whose services you can buy in the marketplace. They have bring something very unique to the table in order to join you in your business. And same would go for you as a partner. What unique thing can you bring as a partner to a business that you cannot buy in the marketplace? I had a friend who was an accountant, and she wanted to get into the company and to have equity in the company in exchange for her services. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, you're a really dear friend, but I can buy your services elsewhere. So that does not qualify you as a partner. But the one thing I have learned from having non-great partners is a lot of times people will talk the talk. They'll tell you what you want to hear. They'll espouse the words of your mission statements or your values. You mentioned values, June. They'll come across as having the same values. But talk is cheap. I don't trust talk at all. I just want to see the actions they're taking. They will demonstrate who they are. You know, if somebody says to me, I have integrity, it scares the heck out of me, because if you do, you shouldn't have to say it. Right? So I want a partner, the partners that you choose and the team members that you choose, you really want them really aligned to your mission, not just speaking it, but really aligned. And it took us a long time to have our team of advisors and our team of experts around us. I trust every single one of them, because I've had so many that I haven't trusted or whose trust was betrayed. So trust is very important, and alignment to the mission is very important.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I think I mentioned this last time in our company, over a year and a half ago, we made a major change. And so now I'm back running the company as the CEO, and my partner is Robert. We're the two partners, and we have now a fabulous day-to-day team. They are just awesome off the charts. But that took a lot of trust building. We had to rebuild the trust because that had all been broken, and there was a lot of secrecy. And in this small little company, all these politics and bureaucracy was going on. It was just nuts. So now we're very transparent, and it's a very safe place where people can say whatever they want to say. Ideas are always welcome. We have a saying, there's no such thing as a stupid idea. But we have great brainstorming, and we have it, and it's showing up in the results.
Yeah, that's good, Kim. That is good. And also over time, you learn to develop. Your discernment is strong. You meet somebody, you feel good about them. I like them or I don't. And if it's somebody you don't like, then don't keep moving forward. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's like, why did you end up in business? You said you didn't like them the first time you met them. A gift.
Well, yes, and you know what too. And to that point, I mean, if I don't want to go out to dinner with them, why would I want them in my business, right? But so many people get drawn in by the money, and it's the worst thing in the world. Never, ever starting your business, make decisions on the money. Being the goal is the money, because I'll tell you from the start, if you're making decisions based on what's going to put the most money in your pocket from the beginning, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it, because when times get tough, you're going to quit. If that's your goal, to make money, you're going to quit. You got to have, and as you know, I mean, Julie, this is your soapboxes, that you have to have something that you believe in, that is a mission bigger, a vision bigger than who you are, and a mission bigger than our team. It's something that is bigger than all our petty problems. That keeps us going, because when we hit obstacles and we hit the wall, there better be something, a bigger reason why we're doing this than just to make money.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And I think also realizing that, if you're working in a business or you're running a business and you get to a point where it's not working, don't be afraid to pivot.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think with women in particularly, we get like emotionally tied. And it's like, wait a minute now, this has not really produced. So maybe I don't have to quit all the way. Maybe I just need to tweak it a little bit here, or maybe I'm doing something that worked 20 years ago, but it won't work today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's kind of a fine line between where do you persevere through the hardship, and when do you know it's time to make a change?
Yeah.
And we call it taps on the shoulder. We get little taps on the shoulder. So you get a tap on the shoulder where somebody, you got a new customer and they buy a big amount of product from you. That's a plus. That's a positive tap on the shoulder. But then you get the negative taps where you get the negative PR, or a customer complains and you make the news, whatever happens. When those taps on the shoulder are only negative, that's probably telling you need to make a change.
Yeah. That's good. That's good, girl. That's good. Well, Kim, thank you so much for coming out here and playing with us.
I always love hanging out with you.
I know. It's always so much fun. And I appreciate you. You guys talk about where they can get your products. A lot of people are on like, I love Rich Women. Where can they find Cash Flow Quadrant, Which Woman, It's Rising Time, all your books?
They can find everything at richdad.com. They can find everything at Amazon, and we're just about ready to launch our Shopify store. So they'll all be hearing from us. But yeah, Amazon, bookstores, we're there.
And you can get on jeweltankard.com because I got all their stuff on there.
Right. Yeah, go there.
And they can follow you on Instagram, right?
Yes, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, we're doing all that social media stuff.
I love it. And your name on Instagram, I think, is The Real Kim Kiyosaki.
Yes, The Real Kim Kiyosaki. It's so funny. People are imitating me. They imitate Robert. I'm like, why would you want to do that?
Right. Like, go be yourself, child.
Absolutely.
It is. All right, girl. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. You guys enjoyed it.
Fun. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.